have the Ayatollah of fantasy rock and roller with us today, Adam Rank. How you doing, Rank?
They look great in person, and I just can't wait till next year we can pack it full of 25,000.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I didn't know it was Ball Guys Day. It was me and Rank. I mean, how do you lose?
This is the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast.
And welcome to the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast. This is episode 82, give or take an episode. I don't keep track because I am mesmerized by the beautiful, glorious, naturistic shirt that Johnny Daigle is putting on with us today. John, how you doing?
Great. How is everyone else doing? And by the way, I told you all behind the scenes before we started, but this shirt was literally a pandemic purchase. I had one or too many adult beverages, and I think you know how Instagram targets you. It tracks all of our data, of course. And then it shows you advertisements that it knows will come to you. And like this shirt with a bunch of wrestlers, just Ric Flair. It's a floral Ric Flair Hawaiian shirt.
That's
it's like,
so
why would I not buy that at 2 a.m. after several margaritas? So yeah. And this is like my favorite shirt now. It's actually super comfortable.
Nice.
Yeah, I need that link, man.
Realistically, we've all probably made worse purchases at 2 o'clock in the morning than a floral Ric Flair Hawaiian kind of party shirt going on there. So it's interesting. And you are on vacation right now as well. You kind of, well, I shouldn't say vacation because you're just more of a last resort, kind of like the bachelor party before the regular season marriage kicks off. I've seen a little bit of video going on. Tell us where you're at here, what's going on down in your neck of the woods.
It's pretty much vacation. Like this is how we get on vacation because between draft season, like there's the Super Bowl in February, the NFL draft in April, and then best ball season, and then like this July month with the Exodus where nothing happens. But that's like the best part of the year because that means nothing's going on. Nothing's changing. No one's changing their rankings because literally nothing's happening. So it's okay. And thus I am now in Cape Cod, Massachusetts with friends, and I'm sure everyone knows in the industry, Rich Rebar, Sharp Football, Peter Overzet, the great Peter Overzet, Denny Carter of NBC Sports Edge, my teammate, co-worker, and then also Pat Thorman of Establish the Run, and their wives and children are all here as well. And we are all just at the same beach house, literally just like the beach is just right off the steps over there. I'm in a room in the back. Rich is in the kitchen right now doing his pros versus Joe's draft. So we're still working. The rest of them are downtown Provincetown, having drinks around the city. We're going to meet up with them afterwards. So still working, still happening. But yes, this is our form of vacation, still working, but also like enjoying with each other.
So cool.
So we kind of tracked this down behind the scenes. I was kind of doing a little bit. You kind of mentioned you might be a little spotty Wi-Fi. You said you're going to be at the beach. And then I seen Pete there toss out the Frisbee. Fantastic throw. And I seen Denny chasing it down on the beach in like what appeared to be super slow motion there. It was this close, though. This close.
Yeah.
It was close.
Can you give us a breakdown, like the in person? What happened there? How did Denny lose that?
I don't know if anyone's tried to throw a Frisbee like in this room. If you have, I can tell you now, and I did this earlier, it is the hardest thing to do. You think it's simple. You just throw it and it goes straight. But there's like a lot of tennis wrist action going on, like ping pong, where you think it's simple, but actually it's not at all at a competitive level. And unsurprisingly, Peter Overzet is like the best among all of us at doing it. Like just flicks it and it goes a mile. And so he just said, basically, Uncle Rico, I'm going to go up on my mountain and throw this Frisbee. And so he ran up the entire dune, and it's like, I don't know, it's 1/4 mile. Like it's something crazy length. And like Rich recorded him and he just launched it. And there was a 10% chance of it actually getting close to Denny, let alone being catchable. And it turns out it was right on. It was dead money going straight at Denny. But then, of course, Denny being Denny, didn't play it properly like a center fielder and like didn't track it over his shoulder. And thus you see the Frisbee in the video. It's on Twitter, social media, if you want to go check it out. The wind lifts it a little bit and then it keeps on going in toward the ocean. And so he missed it, of course. And that's kind of the best part, right? Is that Denny falls literally flat on his face into the ocean, whipping back at him without catching the Frisbee. He failed completely for everyone to see.
But to give him a little credit, like he had sand. He had the sand involved. He had like the ocean. He had the water. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
When your friend has a 10% chance of doing something like Dude Perfect, and they actually get it to you, you do whatever you get CTE by landing on the rock. You do whatever it takes to catch that Frisbee. And Diddy did not lay out. Diddy did not lay out. So no, I blame him completely.
Well, you've seen it. He kind of gave it the old. It almost looked like he went for the wrong shoulder. You know, we're football analysts here. We're fantasy football analysts. We're supposed to be able to break down film from time to time. And you know, I love Denny, but you got to expect a little bit more there. He's got to understand. You got to look over the other shoulder there when it's coming from that angle. He'll
keep hearing it. Everyone's going to keep tweeting at him and yelling at him, as they already do. I can only imagine his mentions probably burn. Like it has to be disastrous.
Did we get a retry? Did he get another take at that, or just one shot?
No, you only get one chance in life. That's it. He failed in front of the world on video, and so now he has to pay the penance.
There you go.
Nice. No, that might be the worst part of it. That's probably the biggest punishment there now, because I can't imagine Pete letting this go the rest of the weekend, because that was the money shot. He let that go. I don't know how you could even replicate that throw, like you were mentioning there. And
did he also? We're talking about Denny. Quick behind the scenes for everyone listening. Denny also is the guy that when he plays Cards Against Humanity, I discovered last night, as I'm sure we've all played, or Apples to Apples. You know, you've played it with your friends. Before the card is played, you get 10 cards in your hand, and they're the punchlines. Denny's laughing at his own punchlines before he even plays them. He laughs at his own jokes in his head, and no one knows the joke. So he's just sitting there laughing on his own. He's that kind of guy.
I do the same thing. I'm sorry.
Well, you would get along with Denny great. Same kind of people.
Yeah.
So we want to talk a little bit about football. We're going to get into some other stuff that's kind of I figured out on some podcasts before. Last year, you kind of dropped a 6 thoughts here going into 2020. We're about to enter 2021. Don't tip us off yet, but what are some of your thoughts early on so far before we head into these training camps in, 10 days?
Yeah, 10 days, literally. That's actually one of the thoughts. This article comes out this upcoming week, actually. And it's never it's not a dedicated article I do annually. Like last year, I think it was literally the product of like Hunter S. Thompson, me like in a bad mental state, in a pandemic lockdown with no wives or children or girlfriend even. It was just me. And it's like, if you get drunk at 2 p.m. every day fighting mental health, what do you do but like jot down your thoughts? You journal everything. And then out of that, because I was still having to work the draft and everything else, came like this article. This is what I think about fantasy football in general. And it was just the wildest thoughts of a complete madman. And I did it again this year because like I've just been on the road, traveling around the country, still driving everywhere. And like this is what I think about fantasy football this year. And there are a lot of different thoughts, but let's say one is like there's a big echo chamber happening right now, as we know. Underdog has gotten too sharp to draft on, actually. Like tournaments, you still should do 12-man, 6-man, and 3-man or team leagues. But the tournaments, like there's almost no point in drafting like the Millie tournaments now in Underdog because everyone has pushed wide receivers up to the 7th round and depressed the ADP of running backs. Having said that, if everyone's doing it, simple game theory, just like DFS, it's not going to win because everyone's doing it. Like you're never going to separate yourself if everyone's doing this thing you're going to do. And so I understand the point. Pat Kerrane has a great article at NBC Sports Edge, like sifting through running back win rates and saying like, well, like the whole point of drafting a running back is to make sure you get an elite one if you even do that. But otherwise, you heighten the floor of your team with wide receivers. And while I agree, and it's absolutely right, he has the facts there and the proof for 12-team leagues. The thing is to win $1 million, like payouts matter. Thus, if you're trying to win $1 million over 155,000 entrants, like it doesn't, like you have to basically accept burning money. Like I'm paying $25 to not get this $25 back. And you have to swing for the fences at that 3% chance you find the elite running back win rate. And like, that's all you're doing because you have to try to win $1 million. So it's just little thoughts like that. That's just like, as everyone's trying to do one thing, like this is actually what I think because I played DFS for a long time. I came up in the DFS streets early, used to play pro when I was a poker pro as well. So I just understand tournament strategy and everything like that. And as the world knows, like anytime everyone's doing one thing, it's just easy enough to do the other thing. And it gives you a better chance to win. Doesn't mean you're right, but we're trying to play probabilities because again, payouts matter. And we're not trying to like get our money back. We're trying to be the 1 in 155,000 to win $1 million. So I don't care about getting the money back. I'm trying to win.
Nice. Just curious, when you're playing, are you playing more of those, or how much do you have in things like 50-50?
So the way this season's worked out, because it's obviously different than last year, that we have training camp and this off July and OTAs, whereas last year we had absolutely nothing after the draft because of the pandemic. I've been throwing in like 4 entries per tournament, because like FFPC has like $125 entry, 7,000 entrants, I think it is, best ball tournament. And so like, you throw in a couple there every month. And then for underdog, you throw in 2 to 4 every month. And then for drafters has like a $5 to $25, I can't remember what it is, a tournament as well. You throw in there. Even bestball10s.com has a tournament. And so for tournaments, I'll throw in a couple every month for all those sites, because ADPs change every month due to the echo chamber. And like literally right now, you can get Aaron Jones at the second, third round turn, even though we know that the closer we get to training camp, the better odds there are that Aaron Rodgers is coming back, because he can't go anywhere else. Like, they're not trading him in training camp. That's crazy. And so like, if you told me a month ago, is Aaron Rodgers coming back? I would say probably not, but also there's more time. As we get closer, I say, of course he's coming back, because he can't go anywhere else. So it's just like, why is Aaron Jones ADP depressing right now? Like, it should have been that 2 months ago, but we're adjusting incorrectly. And thus I'll keep on taking him in the second round, because that's amazing value. And the moment Aaron Rodgers shows up, if he shows up to the first day of training camp, Aaron Jones is back to being the RB7 or 8. And you're taking him at the end of the first round again. So who cares?
So it's because AJ Dillon's quads there, his legs, I think is kind of.
It was quad season. It was quad season.
Yeah.
And by the way, AJ Dillon, it's a good pick in his own self, because we saw last year Jamal Williams, the game he was out. Aaron Jones got injured in that game, and then they treated AJ Dillon like a workhorse. Same as Tony Pollard. Ezekiel Elliott was out one game. Tony Pollard was a workhorse. Like, that's different in drafting those guys, because you don't really care about their standalone value, because I don't think they have standalone value, but the starters out, and those guys, you can have them and they become top 10 running backs. Whereas like Alexander Madison, Samaj P. Ryan, so many others, if their starters out, they're still just committee backs. Like, it doesn't matter at all. It's been 2 starts in a row now for Dalvin Cook in back-to-back seasons that Alexander Madison stepped in, and they took him off the field because he gets game scripted off, and they put in Amir Abdullah instead, because Madison's not a pass-catching back. And so you just have to know how to use these backs, like, because they're not all direct backups at all, even though everyone thinks they are.
Exactly.
So I do have a question. You kind of mentioned nicknames. We talked about Quadzilla there. We talked about the Quad Father, so to speak. We got Aaron Jones here, but how we feel about Cam War Daddy Akers going into the season? You prefer Jones or Akers?
Oh, it is still Aaron Jones, and I've never wavered on that, even though if you look at, I have my best ball tiers at NBC Sports Edge, which I am still updating to this day, because I know it's still best ball season, but Aaron Jones is my RB7 overall, and I put him in the second tier for Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, I'm actually going to put him in this first tier with all the big names that everyone drafts in the first round, because that's where he should be. Remember that Jamal Williams, he vacates total of 35 targets, 14 routes per game. And A.J. Dillon only has 23 catches going all the way back to his freshman year at Boston College. Like, he's not the archetype. He's not that type of guy. They're going to just suddenly thrust into Jamal Williams' vacated passing down role. And so I think Aaron Jones' ceiling is much higher than we perceive. And that's why the moment Rodgers comes back, I think he's a great end of first round pick, and that's where I have him.
I just had to find a way to get War Daddy into the show. That's the whole purpose of getting Cam Akers in there. I just needed to get that in.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, okay. So Cam Akers is my RB8. That's what I meant to say. I apologize. I've had a few margaritas on the beach today. So I love Cam Akers, a lot of reasons, but also remember they rode him at the end of the year. Like, he was averaging 20-plus touches per game. It was no fluke. Darrell Henderson was good and then injured himself. But then all throughout OTAs, every beat writer even said, there's no talk of Darrell Henderson here. Like, this is literally Cam Akers' backfield. Sean McVay hasn't said Henderson's name in a single sentence. Like, we are riding this guy. Also, the Rams are projected for the easiest schedule of rushing opponents this year. And people scoff at that metric because things change throughout the year. Of course they do. But also, I like to note the weighted teams in that metric, because that means that even if everything changes, like, that means that Cam Akers has a easy schedule still. It doesn't have to be the easiest, but it's still easy since it started out as the easiest. And so like that plus Matthew Stafford making the offense better, there's no way to quantify this really. This is just talking about football in general. But like Matthew Stafford moving the ball along and also being able to have more yards per play in that offense will make everyone better. And so yes, Cam Akers is my RB8 overall.
I love that. I love that feedback because there's so many people that are being detractors right now for Akers and thinking that he's not going to get that workhorse carry.
And to be fair, like it's not the workhorse. I don't worry about Cam Akers being a workhorse at all. Like, Cam Akers is actually a sneaky top 5 guy. The thing about this year of running backs in that tiered range, and you talk about Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Antonio Gibson, Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, like all these guys are pretty much the same person. And so when someone says like they're down on Cam Akers, like, or they're higher on Cam Akers, like that's fine, whatever, do what you want for clicks, but you got to tell me who you're actually putting him ahead or behind because we're nitpicking that tiered range. And so I have him over all those guys for the reasons I cited. But then again, like everyone makes a case there. There are a lot of people drafting Antonio Gibson over Cam Akers. There are a lot of people drafting Austin Eckler over Cam Akers. So it's just like all of them have red flags for a certain reason. Whereas honestly, I don't know if Cam Akers is a red flag. Like I genuinely think like the green light is good for all the metrics we care about.
Speaking of matrix and green lights, what about J.K. Dobbins here? Pod here kind of throws his name into the mix.
So in the 5 games Mark Ingram was healthy scratch for at the end of the year, the issue is that Dobbins only had 7 more carries than Gus Edwards in that span and 5 more targets. Ravens running backs, the backfield unit has finished 3rd and 4th from last in running back targets per game the past 2 years because that's the way that Lamar Jackson throws. He never checks down. Maybe Greg Roman suddenly gets them involved. And if you want to bet on that, that's fine. But I also know like this year the news was like, yeah, he's going to get him more involved. That was the news last year too, and it didn't happen at all. It doesn't matter. And so I basically just go off the evidence we have. And the evidence we have so far is that they just don't pass to running backs. And so which limits J.K. Dobbins' ceiling with the numbers I said earlier that are obviously still splitting touches. And so that's why I think everyone's a little too high on J.K. Dobbins. Love him as a player. Absolutely love the talent. He's one of the most explosive players in the league, but that doesn't mean he's like a 70-30 workhorse. Like they are never going to treat him like that. They love their backfield committee. And honestly, Gus Edwards is good. Like in that backfield split last year, he averaged, I think it was 5.2 yards per touch because he's just awesome. He's such a good player. He's basically poor man's Nick Chubb, where he's a pure running back. And I think he can catch the ball as well, even though he didn't have many opportunities last year. So everyone's a little too high on Dobbins for my liking. And everyone should get a little more higher on Gus Edwards. But I will say Gus Edwards, since he does provide standalone value weekly, I prefer to build with him whenever I don't draft a running back early. Like I like to start with like Raheem Mostert, Gus Edwards, Naheem Hines, those kind of guys who are providing me value and then also can provide more value if the starter goes out in front of them. But if I start with like one of the top 7 running backs, workhorses, I don't really feel the need to grab Gus Edwards because in tournaments, you're basically treating your RB1 that gets a lot of touches as your RB2 as well. You're trying to get 2 weak running backs out of them. And thus you don't need a guy like Gus Edwards. That's when you take your chance on A.J. Dillon, like we said earlier, on Tony Pollard, because in the span, you don't need their floors. Thus, if the starter goes out, you can use their high upside ceiling weeks, if that makes sense.
Yep.
It does. Yeah.
That makes complete sense here. And we've kind of ran out of our contractually obligated football talk. And we're going to head down to a little bit of Margaritaville there, down to Cape Cod or wherever you're at. I don't know where. I'm just kind of making names up.
It is Cape Cod. It is Cape Cod.
Is it?
Yeah.
Excellent. I thought I heard something. I was going to say Cape Cornell and I everything like that. You got to remember, I'm Canadian here, so I'm just throwing capes with everything. Cape Breton, that's kind of where we're at.
What area? What area? I'm just going to take over as host now. What area of Canada are you in, by the way?
I'm out west here, just east of the Rockies in Alberta, southern Alberta.
So I take not last year because of the pandemic, I take annual hikes to Banff. I go for a week. I go cabin hiking in Banff every single year in the summer and August. I haven't done it last year, and I can't do it this year because our border is still closed. But just know, once it opens back up, I fly into Calgary, I take the hour bus north, and I go hike for a week. So I will definitely reach out to you next year when I'm in town, and we will grab a beer because that's my thing. I love traveling. So
Absolutely. And you can't go wrong with Banff. That's some beautiful country up there.
You can't go wrong with Canada. Like, y'all have the most beautiful everything. It's incredible. I'm so envious of the outdoors there.
Well, there's a lot of it here. You know, like, I think it's something like 85 or 90% of the population is like right along the border.
Yeah.
And this is like one of the biggest countries in the world. There's a lot of empty space here to work with. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, and Whistler is still on my bucket list as well. I'll make it out there one day. But yeah, I am envious of your Canada lifestyle for sure.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about, but
I'm sorry. I hijacked the show with Canada.
I'm just a city boy from LA. I'm like, wait, what are you guys talking about?
I lived in Santa Monica for 3 years. Let's talk LA. That's fine
there
too.
You go.
I lived. Tara, where do you live? Oh, what state do you live in?
I'm in Texas. Houston, Texas.
I'm from Fort Worth and Dallas. So, and I lived in Houston for 5 years during college. I went to Texas A&M. So I'm here. Guys, I could talk about any city you would like to. Let's do this show.
Wow.
Perfect.
But before we do the rest of that, go into that show there about where in the world is John Daigle, let's kind of talk about if you were coming into a wrestling match or if you're coming in to close out the 9th inning, we're going to play some music. We want to get the fans going. What is John Daigle coming out to?
Stone Cold theme song. I'm buying the rights for it.
You're going to buy the rights? Just get that glass shattering?
It has to be the glass shattering. Of course, yes. If I had a wrestling character, it would be John Dollars, and he'd be a Texas oil salesman. You can tell I've thought about this a lot, actually.
I was just about to say
that. And then my finishing move would be Crude Awakening.
Wait, you went deep in your you're already signed up already.
And my manager would actually be like the butler silver platter. And when he opens it,
you got the manager?
The championship belt is in the silver platter, and then he delivers it, and then I hold it up. Yeah, of course I have a manager.
Nice,
because the manager has to turn on me and become a star at some point. So I'm trying to set up the future of the company as well.
You even have different arcs of the characters like that. That's
what wrestling is. Like, I love how the everyone makes fun of wrestling because they say, well, it's fake. Like, do you know? Yeah, that's the whole fucking point. Like, if we can stretch our imagination to that's literally the whole point. It's like D&D, it's like board games. Like, the whole point is to stretch your imagination and accept that you're in this alternate world. So of course it's like the most fun of your lifetime if you're not like a dweeb and actually saying, oh, like, you can't have fun. It's not real. Like, who cares? It's the best.
We got to get Ken Dingo get a hell yeah.
It is a hell yeah. But unfortunately for a bad Southern accent, I still can't do the Stone Cold like raspy voice. It's too hard.
Yeah.
You just suck back like a pack and a half of Marlboros there before you get out there just to get that nice deep kind of thing going on.
Yeah. So to the next question, we all know the importance of sports growing up. Did you play any sports? Who was your favorite team and players growing up? All that good stuff.
Being from Dallas area, I did grow up a just complete Dallas fan, everything. I've separated myself from the Cowboys just because, like, in this job, it's better to be unbiased. And there's still honestly like a little bit of childlike joy I get when the Cowboys are good. Here's the thing: Cowboys are never good, so you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, they're never good. Even though like the Dak Prescott year, going toe to toe with Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs in Dallas, and then it came down to the Aaron Rodgers throw to Jared Cook on the sideline. One of the best throws I've ever seen in my lifetime, by the way. But no, like that's the last time they were actually good. And even then, like it doesn't matter when they lose because I expect them to lose. They haven't made it past the division championships in '95. Of course, I expect them to lose. Like they're not a good team. They're not a winning team. But whenever they're good in season, I still get a little joy. I'm basically just a Mavs fan, a Dallas fan, Stars fan, and then I'm Texas Rangers because they're in Arlington. That's my hometown. So that's it.
Are you one of those Cowboy fans that like we're going to win this year, like those Cowboy fans?
No. So for those that, and Tara maybe knows this, for those in like the Texas, Dallas region, you know that there are two types of Cowboys fan. There are the obnoxious ones that Tara hates. I hate as well, by the way, that like yell at you and think they're good when they're never good, like I told you. And there's the realist fans like myself, when I was a fan, that tell you like, no, this team like always sucks. Like they're very good at business. Jerry Jones is like the number one general manager and owner in the entire world. He understands business to the T and he knows what to sell and how to sell. But running a team, he's obviously the worst. Like they cannot do business whatsoever. Every deal they've made, like long-term contract, has always come down to the deadline. So he gets no value out of his deals. Dak Prescott, of course, he eventually gave in when he could have saved money much earlier in making the long-term deal. Zeke, he gave in whenever Zeke held out. Jalen Smith, who's one of the worst linebackers in the entire league, he gave in. Like, it's just like they're so bad at business on the football field. Outside of that, though, they are absolutely amazing. I see this question too, by the way. Ahmad asked, do Dallas and Houston sports teams have a strong sports rivalry? I don't think so. So Rangers and Astros were fun for a while there because like the Rangers were going to the World Series and the Astros were not good at this time because they were rebuilding. But now clearly the Astros rebuilt. They may or may not have cheated to win. That's a topic for another day. But nonetheless, the fact is the Rangers are now like the rebuilding team and one of the worst teams in the entire MLB. And honestly, like we know, the Texans have never mattered. Texans don't matter. They're just in the AFC South. Their fans in the city, it's unfortunate because I love the fans in the city. The town oozes culture. I'm a big Paul Wall and UGK guy. I grew up on UGK, so I understand the Houston rap scene as well. But like the whole, unfortunately, as much as everyone there backs the Texans do not back the fans. Like they don't care about winning. They don't know how to win. It's just a bunch of rich people at the top, like not knowing how to build the team at all. But they just cash their checks and go home. So it doesn't matter to them, which is unfortunate again, because like all my friends that are Texans fans are very devoted. So there is not a rivalry, but that's unfortunate because there should be a rivalry, honestly.
I love that because you're speaking Tera time right there because I could just see Tera's nodding in approval, knowing exactly what you're talking about the entire time.
I've been in Houston for a little over 10 years now, so I'm not a Texans fan, but I experienced their suffering with them. So
the culture's amazing. Yeah. And the food in Houston also is really, really good. It's great as well. Houston deserves better team than the absolute shit they're putting out there right now. And again, it's because ownership does not care. And that's unfortunate because the fans do care.
Yeah. When it gets to the point that JJ Watt has to even walk away, beg to leave.
Yeah, JJ Watt, literally a Houston superhero. Like they would have built a statue for him had he retired there. And by the way, when he retires, he's still going to sign the 1-day contract with Texans and retire as a Houstonian. But like it's got so bad there where even he didn't want to be there after saving the city. He literally saved the city after the hurricane. And even he said, screw this. Like I cannot do this for my entire career.
Yep.
It's all about poor decisions there in Houston, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
But let's talk about good decisions. So tell us about let's get about with you personally. Tell us about a decision that changed the trajectory of your life, and then talk about your journey.
Oh, I don't know if y'all know. I've talked about my life a little bit, but it kind of goes everywhere. So let's see, a decision I made that changed the journey. I lived in Australia for 2 years. And when I came back literally because I don't know if y'all know Jonathan Bells, one of my good friends, also like literally the smartest individual I know, even though he'd tell you he's not. He's just like a philosopher of our time. He's literally a modern philosopher, like a modern Nasib Talib. And he literally sent out a tweet back in his early days before Fantasy Labs got started and just said, hey, like I'm looking for help at this site. Just need someone to write some content, whatever. I don't need a resume because I don't believe in resumes. Just send me whatever you got about your life. And I told him like, oh, like I was a pro poker player out of college because I didn't like the job offerings I had. Because, when people don't realize that like at high school as a senior, you're at the top. And then you go to college, you're at the bottom as a freshman. And then you work all your way up and you're at the top again. And then when you come out of college into real life, you're literally back at the bottom of the barrel and you're a piece of shit and everyone walks over you. And I didn't like the offers I got. So I said, screw this. I'm going back into playing pro poker full time. And then I eventually messaged him when I was in Australia because I went over there to play a pro tournament. And I loved the city so much I stayed for a few years. And he said, oh, yeah, this looks great. You're hired. And then it was too hard to communicate overseas. So I came back over to America, stayed there, got the job full time. So I would say just reaching out and or believing what you want to do is pretty much the easiest thing you can do. Working hard behind the scenes. It's so cliche. Everyone says, oh, work hard, you'll get where you want. I am here to tell you should work harder than try to get lucky. If you can get lucky, it's literally like, it's just getting lucky. It's literally getting lucky is all it is. But here's the thing. The whole point of getting lucky is that you have to do the work because when you get lucky, you have to be able to like hit it out the park. You can, if you've never swung a bat before and then you get a major league at bat, you didn't do the work beforehand. So you're never going to hit the ball. But like if you're doing all that work behind the scenes and suddenly you get lucky, you get one at bat, like you're ready at least to try. And so that's the whole thing. Like you do all the work that no one sees behind it. It's like Instagram. Instagram's like one photo and everyone thinks that's your life when it's not at all. Like you're depressed or whatever behind the scenes. And then you show up for one photo for 5 seconds of your life. The rest is miserable. But like So if you just like do everything behind the scenes correctly, and then suddenly you get one opportunity and get lucky, you're going to do well. That's just how life works. And so, yeah, just do that. Just do the work, and no one's going to see it, and it's fine. You can grind on your own, and then eventually someone's going to notice. And then that one opportunity you notice, you better be ready, because that's probably going to be your only chance in life.
So basically what you're saying is, go ahead. I was going to say, so basically what you're saying is, you can look like Brian Bosworth, you can look the part, but if Bo Jackson's about to run your ass over, you better make the tackle instead of getting put into retirement on that play.
Yeah. And honestly, you might get more than one chance. I don't know. That's when like the discussion of resilience and how that works into your life comes out. But like, honestly, you probably get one chance. Everyone just gets one chance. You just better be ready to answer on that one chance. And that's all it is. Like, do all the work and then get one chance.
Nice.
And Tera, you're just kind of going to touch base there a little bit at that end there before I cut you off, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, what was the next step of that journey after you got that first opportunity?
So it was with Fantasy Labs. I did that for 2 years, and then we parted ways. And I think at that time, I believed I was done in the industry, oddly enough. I was just like, okay, I think I was 29 or 30 at the time, and I'm only 33 now, but I just genuinely figured that was my one shot. And it didn't work out, which is okay. No big deal. And all those guys are still my friends. They're all the most intelligent people I know in life still to this day. But it didn't work out, and that's fine. It wasn't a mesh. And then eventually, of course, everyone here knows Evan Silva. And the work I was doing on the side, Evan Silva sent me 2 DMs. One said, call me, and the second one said his phone number. And so I called him, and then we had literally an hour-long discussion about what I was doing, because he followed my work at Labs. And again, this goes back into putting in the work and just getting lucky. I was lucky he was following me. I had no idea. And he just said, like, bro, like, where'd you go? Because like I disappeared. And I was like, oh yeah, I had my opportunity for a year. I got out because I don't know if I'm meant for this anymore. He's like, no, like come to Roto World, give it a shot. It's just news hours for a week. See what happens. I said, okay. And then I pitched to him also my available targets and air yards tracker and unaccounted carries tracker, both on the site still to this day. I still update them daily whenever cuts happen. No cuts have happened, so they haven't been updated in like a month. But that was the first column I pitched to him 4 years ago. And then I did news for a week, and obviously the work I put in behind the scenes with Fantasy Labs. Before that, I was already, I would like to think, okay at blurbing, and I got hired in 2 weeks full time, just like that. Because everyone else comes in, they don't know how to blurb. You have to compact a lot of information in 3 sentences, whereas that's what I did my entire life. Like it was just easy for me, whereas no one else could do it, and so it was honestly like easy, and that's all it took was just being noticed, and and they hired me, and that's kind of the next step, and here I am today on it now.
Look, it seems like Evan Silva's always watching everything that's going on, because you're not the first one where he's kind of done that, where he's kind of slid into someone's DMs, says, give me a call. Someone called and boom, kind of launched their career. So I think that's kind of fantastic just to hear that was kind of your path as well. But at one point it was like, you mentioned the first attempt, okay, I'm done. Fantasy Labs kind of went down, that didn't work out as well as we'd hoped. When did you feel like that this was going to turn into more than a hobby? Because you mentioned that if it made it a year, great. If it made it 2 years, great. When did you get to the point at Roto World where I was like, you know what? This is something that I can make a living out of, like, all the time.
I always wanted it to be more than a hobby, and a lot of people don't, and that's fine. Like you should just do whatever's comfortable with you, because like, why would you ever listen to someone else? Just do whatever's better for your life. Everyone like tries to define success. Success is so subjective. Just do what makes you happy. Who cares? Don't worry about everybody else. But like this is the only thing I've ever wanted to do, honestly. Even in elementary and high school and college, I only wanted to do sports radio and write sports for a newspaper. All I wanted to do. And so like, this is literally the same thing. It's just sports radio, but in podcasting form, and sports journalism and fantasy football and betting form. And so I knew I wanted to do that for full time, and I wasn't going to stop for a full time. Also understand, and I understood this, a lot of people don't nowadays though, that it's the hardest thing you'll ever try to break into. The jobs are finite. It's so ridiculously impossible to try to even achieve full-time success. And I feel so bad for everybody, because Mark Cuban tells this to college classes. When they ask him to come speak, he does. And they ask him about like sports journalism and working in sports in general. And he tells them, when they ask him like, okay, well, like, how do you get into this? He always says, don't. And everyone then laughs. Everyone laughs, and they don't realize he's actually serious. Like, don't. And then he says, don't ever chase dreams because dreams grow on trees. Everyone has a dream. Who cares about your dream? We all have them. You should chase your work ethic. And wherever your work ethic leads you to, that's the goal in life that you should be doing anyways. But my work ethic, fortunately, was always in this job because I only ever wanted this job. And it doesn't stop here. There's probably more beyond this, but like this is all I ever want to do. Talk about football, write about football, and it's never going to stop beyond that. So, whatever your work ethic is, if it's not in this, that's fine. Just keep on doing that. Just chase that.
Yeah. Let's talk about your fantasy football experience, I guess. We all have those home leagues that we love. What's your favorite league you ever been a part of?
So home leagues are the best because we spend so many months, like the 5 months of our lives now, doing industry drafts and like talking about correct ADP and roster construction. And then you show up to your home league and no one gives a shit. Like they don't care about ADP at all. It's the Wild West. And those are the best drafts because like everyone's just shooting off the cuff. They're just like running. They're just on their hips, like just doing whatever the hell they want in life. And those to me are the most fun drafts. And so my home draft, I have a home draft of 18 years going now with all my high school friends. And it is 2 quarterback, 2 flex, no kicker, 1 defense. And it is the best draft ever. It's 20 rounds. And because like all those guys really don't pay attention, and it's great because everyone just does whatever the hell they want. ADP is ruined and it doesn't matter at all because you're just having fun. So I would say honestly, any home league. If you're in a home league, you just go out and have fun.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just saying, you probably win, honestly, by the waiver wire more than anything. The issue in my home leagues is that I'm too busy doing my actual job that, like, I don't really do the waiver wire, and so I lose all the time.
I was going to say, how many times have you won that league?
No, 2010. 2010 was the last time. The Peyton Manning, Darren McFadden, Antonio Bryant team was the greatest team I ever created. And I haven't won since, all because I do not do waivers. Like, because I'm too busy in the middle of the season to worry about waivers like a small money league. It just doesn't take my time. Like I'm in FFPC for like the 2K entries and all this stuff. Like I cannot worry about a home league team. But for everyone else, I would say your home league, cherish it because it's the best part of your year.
So I ask this to everyone who comes on here because this has happened to me now recently. And I didn't know how to take it at first. But when you go to these home leagues, what's that reaction, that first reaction, then someone pulls in John Daigle's rankings list and pulls it out right there and starts drafting off of that on you?
Oh, they laugh at me. Friends, like friends are friends because they make fun of you. Like that's your friends are the ones who bully you, honestly. And so like they don't care that I'm John. Like to them, I'm just John Daigle. But like in my career, I'm John Daigle. But they don't seem like it's weird. Like they don't see me as John. Like I'm just their guy. I'm just their friend. Like literally, they're probably texting me right now about something. Like it doesn't matter to them what I do in life as long as I'm happy. And they also know like I always wanted to do this, and here I am today. So they don't even use my rankings. Honestly, they don't care at all. They genuinely do not care.
They're just not telling you. They are.
I was just saying, is that even more insulting that they don't want to use?
No, it's fine. I don't mind. No, imagine having an ego. Like we work in fantasy football. Who cares? Like we're just living a good life. Who cares? Like I'm not gonna have an ego working in fantasy football. That's ridiculous. So whenever they draft someone, let's say like Zeke is my 3rd overall running back for a good reason. But let's say when they draft Zeke this year, whenever it is, if I don't draft him, like they'll look at me or they'll still talk some shit or say something because they know he's higher because they know my rankings, but they don't follow them. They're still going to do what they want, and that's fine. It's okay.
Well, maybe they're paying more attention to the real John Daigle's numbers. It's not the not John Daigle rankings.
Perhaps, which I'm still trying to get John Daigle or Daigle. Daigle's a freelance writer himself, I believe, and won't take my money, and I'm trying to pay him for that handle. So, Daigle, if you're listening, please just give me the handle. It'll help me more than it will help you.
Right.
I'm just waiting for a more famous Matt Donnelly FF to step up so they can pay me for my handle. That's literally my fantasy football goal right now is to have someone pay me for my handle. But we've got to mention
FF is better than the FF suffix is better than the not prefix. I did that in like 2009 when I created my account, wanting to live in anonymity, and it turns out that's not good for your career. Like you should be just you shouldn't put not at the front of your handle. Whatever. I'm here. We're here today. It doesn't matter.
Now though, it's cool.
Yeah.
Well, John, you don't know me very well, but I was at Dingus4 before I became Matt Donnelly FF.
Oh
so
yeah, that's awful.
Make a change.
That's terrible.
We went with a more professional look here going forward. Speaking of
Yeah.
professional, you've done a ton of podcasts. I want to kind of talk about the drip show there. You know what I mean? you and Sal 4 for 4. Kind of talk us through that. That must be one of your favorite podcasts to do because it sounded like a lot of fun to watch.
So I was fortunately just a guest. He invited me on 4for4football.com. Sal is who we're talking about. Sal4for4 on Twitter, who's a very good friend. And also, literally, if you ask anyone, like tell them to rank the 3 nicest humans in the industry, they'll always go in some type of order. Scott Fish, of course, he has awards named after him. Of course, he's the nicest person ever. Also, Ray Summerlin, who's no longer in the industry, but I would imagine he probably wants to get back in eventually. He used to write news for Roto World. And then also Sal. Like, it's never going to change ever. Rich Rebar's an honorable mention or number 3 as well all the time. And so Sal invited me to a drip-off because he knows I earned the shirt. And so for him, he showed up great. Like, he has a floral Hawaiian shirt and like a Bryson bowler. Like, it looks great, honestly. But then I had on a flannel shirt and a bedazzled cowboy hat. And then while talking, he has 4 questions he asked. And then I took off the first shirt, the flannel, and I had underneath that this shirt, actually. I had this Ric Flair shirt. So that was shirt number 2. Then I took off this shirt. And I had still in my car, actually, I have a Dragon Ball Z tie-dye, purple and green in Japanese symbols, like the characters for their alphabet. It's saying something in Dragon Ball Z. I'm not quite sure because I can't read Japanese, but I know it's there. And so I had that shirt. And then I took off that shirt for the 4th question, and I had a American flag tie-dyed sleeveless tee and then I put back on a bedazzled American flag cowboy hat. And that was the 4 outfits. And it seems hard, but even as hard as you think, it's even harder than you think whenever you try to strip off 4 layers of clothing and talk about football. Because I didn't stop, and the video is available on Twitter and YouTube. I didn't stop. I just kept on talking, answering the question while changing clothes. And so, yeah, it's all on there. And that's what it was. I'm fortunate enough to know Sal. Sal's a terrific individual, and I like doing appearances with him whenever he asks.
Yeah, a minute ago you mentioned that this is what you wanted to do your whole life. But if you were not doing fantasy football, what would you be doing?
I'm not even kidding. Like, this is not a setup to anything. Like, it'd be a pro wrestler. I would absolutely devote my time. Pro wrestling, it's just working out on the road. I run all the time. I work out on the road. No big deal. But it's like literally devoting your entire life to being in shape and show shape. And then like learning wrestling and speaking. And yeah, I would absolutely do it. That'd be the dream. That'd be amazing.
I mean, we already ran down like the whole scenario for like the arc of your character.
I'll be a wrestler.
And your manager's character. Like, that's amazing.
I'm absolutely not kidding. Like, I would be 100% in gyms all the time and be training to be a wrestler. Because I used to do theater in college, and wrestling is literally just theater. But instead of singing, you're fighting. Like, it's fake acting. And so, like, same thing. I would absolutely do it. Obviously, a lot more pain. Like, everyone says it's fake, but obviously they're in a ton of pain because you still have to learn how to bump. And I don't know if y'all know this. I don't know if there's Matt. You watch wrestling, right? I
watched a lot back in the late 80s, early 90s. That's
right.
kind of
you grew up. You grew up, and I didn't. That's the difference. Okay, so I'm still a kid. So whenever you're training as a wrestler, for those that don't know, whenever you try to run the ropes, you learn to run the ropes, right? And then take bumps. So that's just falling onto your back. Most of the time, not kidding, most of the time people piss blood because like it hurts their kidneys in your back. It just messes you up. But everyone fights through that because they want to be a wrestler so bad. And so like that's the issue, is that you are going to hurt. It all hurts a lot. You basically have to develop a callus, one big callus on your back for it not to hurt to take a bump. And that's when you get used to the way to fall properly. But no, I would absolutely love to do that. As painful as that just sounded, I would love to do that.
Nice.
We're a fickle bunch here, aren't we, as human beings? Where we're like, you know what? I really want to get paid to be in pain. That sounds like a fantastic job opportunity right there.
Yeah, but you're chasing that high at the fans chanting your name. Imagine 60,000 people like chanting John Dollars. I will chase that high all day long.
Wait, is that the wrestler name?
That was my fake wrestler name I mentioned to you earlier.
Yeah.
I missed that one. I missed the name.
No. Texas oil salesman John Dollars wearing a suit and all black and a black cowboy hat out to the ring because I'm a villain. Of course I'm a villain. So yeah, that's the name. It's John Dollars.
Awesome.
And see, I figured if you weren't going that wrestling route or going chasing after that World Series of Poker watch there, whatever they got going, bracelet, I thought maybe you could be into like a professional eater, like Hot Wings or something. Maybe the fiasco on the Good Football Show there. You want to talk about if that's something that you could chase down there?
I actually got an email recently, just today, this morning, from our boss, because he obviously checks all the shows and listens to them. And he just said, hey, like, I just want to let you know this is one of the best episodes of the offseason. And so for those who haven't listened, there's an episode available, just 3 back, I believe, just in the feed, A Good Football Show on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcast. And it is a show with me, Denny Carter, Pat Doherty, and Matt Stroop. And we were just talking about potential league winners outside of the top 100. And I happen to bring, so I'm a spicy food fan, admittedly. Like I love, and I don't like the good spicy. I like the pain spicy. I want something to hurt me, and thus it has done its part in life, and then I'll separate myself from it. Like everyone says, oh, I want to taste good, but also spicy. No, I want to taste miserable and kill me. And so that's what I search for. This is what I choose in life. I have no idea. And so we are who we are. You don't change it. And so I brought a couple sauces to the podcast because it's July. Nothing's happening. There's literally no football at all. And so we just made it one giant bit that I'm trying to save the off season of content. I'm just trying to create content and save the site. And I ate wings live on the video on YouTube. Also, it's on audio form. And it's just miserable. It's literally just me eating a hot wing like I'm on Hot Ones with the hottest sauce, like 50,000, what do they call them? The peppers levels. I can't remember. Whatever the case. Scovilles, I think is what the levels are called. And it's just me eating these literally the most ridiculously hot sauces and then spitting my spiel about the players I think are league winners outside the top 100. And that's available to everyone if you want to go. Oh, I left the show at the end. I literally ate the hottest one, the last one, and then I walked out because it did not end well. It was not pretty.
I have to find that one.
My entire insides burned.
Nice. Yeah, I identify with that. I'm kind of the same way. Well, not as much now because pregnancy kind of makes it impossible to eat.
Oh yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah. But before kids, yeah, I was that same kind of like make it burn, hot, spicy, eliminate the flavor. I don't know. It's like a weird, like, I don't know what it is. Just mentally, it just, I don't know, some kind of weird toughness feels great. I don't know.
You all got issues you need to work out. That's all I got.
I agree. I need therapy. I do agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I like spicy foods, but like not. I don't like my nose to run and just sweat. It's not a good look,
dude.
That's the look I go for.
If my nose starts to run, you know what kind of mess we got going on over here? We do not want that. It's going to get all up in here. We don't want none of that.
You got the handlebar to concern yourself about. Yeah.
So yeah, so moving back to you, not related to amazing hot foods, but back to fantasy sports. What's one of the things that you've learned about yourself within fantasy sports?
It's probably cliche, but I just think everyone's trying to be, a lot of young people in the industry are trying to be somebody when you should just be yourself, like literally just be yourself. And then you take yourself and you try to crank that up to 11, like just you become a different personality, but it's still really just yourself in a character form. And so, I would just say genuinely, that's what I've learned. It's like, if you're meant to be, then you will create this niche where it's just you doing what you do and would have done anyways. And that's kind of what I do. I say what I do. I say my spiel. I do the same research I've always done. I learn from my past mistakes, of course, but like, I'm just myself. And then I look up and no one is saying the same thing, which is good. Because like, I don't want anyone to agree with me. That's okay. Like I'm totally fine with that. But you don't want to be Matthew Friedman of FTN has always said it best, where he said, being contrarian is not a license to be a fucking idiot. And that's like literally the perfect way to put it, because so many people try to be different just to be different. But like, no, you just be yourself. And then whenever your research or when your method of life takes you in a different direction, that's like what it was meant to be. It's not contrarian at all just because you're different. And so, yeah, I just be myself all the time. Whatever my research leads me to, that is my opinion, and it's evidence-based and backed up all the time. There's no hot takes at all, even though some comes out as hot takes because it's just different than what everyone else came out to be. But yeah, just be yourself. That's all I ever do.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great advice. We all know relationships are very important in every industry that's, business related or whatnot. Mm-hmm. Who are some of the people that helped you along the way?
Oh, everyone. Oh man.
Just give us like 2 or 3 just pop, 2 or 3 top people that popped in your head.
I mentioned Silva DMing me earlier. So like that has to be one because he basically like rekindled my career, and here I am today because of him. But I mean, Jesus, like I was a shitty writer until I met JJ Zacharyson, and then I worked for Number Fire for a year, and like their editors and him tore me apart, tore my articles apart. It didn't publish the first article I submitted to them, and they hired me on my reputation. They just said, "Yeah, of course we know who John Daigle is. Like we'd love to have you work here." And I submitted an article, and they ripped it to shreds. And like they taught me just how to write. Honestly, they redid my whole career. And so like I have him, who's also a good friend now, fortunate enough, but like I have him to thank as well. And like there are so many people behind the scenes that like no one knows it all. Like since I grew up in a small Texas town, and my connections thus were made in my career through Dallas media at first until I branched out. I mean, there's so many Texas people as well, like in Dallas radio, because I wanted to do sports radio, like Bob Sturm, who's on The Ticket, 97.6 FM. He does work for the Cowboys, and like he just needed an editor, like a stats guy, and like he just hired me on the spot, not knowing anything about me. I was just like, yeah, I can help you out. I can do this thing. He's like, oh, I can't do that thing. I'll hire you. And like now he works with Troy Aikman and everyone on the side, and so like he's a big deal, and like he just gave me a blind start. Robert Mays of the where does Robert Mays work now? Robert Mays and Andy Benoit and Rob Klemko. They used to have a podcast at the MMQB under Peter King, and they blindly hired me as a audio editor just because I submitted like a resume, and they honestly didn't pay me as well. I just did it for free work because I needed the connections to build up my like status and everything, and just be like, if I put your name on my resume, that means it's going to matter more. And so like those guys blindly hired me, and I just edited their podcast forever until like the site ended, and then I didn't do it anymore. There's an editor back at like the Dallas Morning News. Like he's also the editor for the Dallas Athletic now because he's also grown in his career, who helped me out a ton. Orr Moyle. He's a very good friend as well. Like all these guys, like I just like the connections, like I'm telling you, there's so many people that like at some point in my life I was down, or some point in my career I needed help. I just needed to weigh in, and someone saw something in me and they just gave me a spot, and it just kept on going from there. So like the list goes on and on and on. There are people I didn't mention, and I'm so sorry, but yeah, it's like, I can't name three. I've been helped out by so many.
So, John, I just got to jump in here real quick there. Why do I get this like sneaking suspicion that when Number Fire absolutely abused you there in the editorial, that maybe part of you really enjoyed that feeling?
You know me too well already. You know I'm a masochist. And by the way, that's not like, it's not a healthy grind culture, right? Because like nowadays, I feel like people come up in the industry and just be like, oh, I don't want to be like tired or whatever. I want to be happy. Thus, like, I'm not going to do this part of the work or whatever. But like, that's not it at all. Like, I came up in the silver culture of like grind culture to where like I always feel like I should be working, which by the way, not healthy, but also like I can't even imagine doing anything else because like that's what's got me where I am today. Plus, it allows me to meet friends like y'all, and I just hop on random shows because like this is not working. This is us talking about life and football. So like I don't feel like this is work at all. This is fun. Like I literally worked to work more, and if this is work, I'll take this every day. So yeah, like I don't mind it at all. But yeah, you already see what's happening. You understand me totally. That I basically don't turn off. I don't stop.
Awesome. I don't know if Matt was speaking. It's hard to tell when Matt's speaking or not when he's on mute because of the mustache.
So the mustache covers the lip. It makes it a little bit.
Yeah.
By the way, fantastic ventriloquist here, right? You just gotta keep talking like this. You can't tell what's going on at all. We just kind of keep going. Let's roll it on, Kara. What's the next question?
That's what you mean for the kids when they're like messing with you, like, hey, get the. Yeah. That's why he has it.
Exactly. So, I mean, you've dropped a ton of advice as. Mommy, sorry.
Oh, the kid came in.
Yeah.
It happens.
He's part of the show now.
It's part of the show. It happens all the time. I'm interrupting him.
It's okay. I'm literally texting Rich to bring me another drink in here, so it's okay.
Nice. So you've dropped a ton of advice throughout the show. That's really helpful for a lot of people within our audience. But if you could just give us, one more big piece of advice for people that are trying to make it in the industry.
Don't burn bridges. I think a lot of people like go about it the wrong way because we literally have no idea who's going to be working with and for who at the end of the day. This industry, that's the best thing about it. Like if you take one positive note, I feel like I've just done nothing but like make people scared, like to ever try to write ever. If you take one positive, know that this industry never gets smaller. It only gets bigger. It's never gotten smaller ever to begin with. Fantasy only grows every single year. Football only grows every single year. And remember, as long as football only gets bigger, that means fantasy gets bigger, and thus we always have jobs. But the fact it's no longer a monopoly and there are tons of companies that honestly we're all friends with, like that's great. That also means you have more opportunities as well. And so, I just think I would take solace in the fact that this industry is only growing. And also with sports betting, that I said all that before even mentioning sports betting, which obviously is the golden goose. Like that's why also everything's going to be here, because player props, but team totals, like these are all fantasy stats. They're all the same stuff. You just have to know how to sift through them. And so, everything only gets larger every single year. That would be my advice. Is that, that's the one happy thing I have to say. How about that?
Yes.
I like how you mentioned not to burn bridges, because it really is. We don't know who's watching you. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can bring a guest onto the show. You have a good conversation with them. That may lead to something. You may have some work that you've done that you don't think someone's seen. And next thing you know, you're getting a DM from Evan Silva, right? We don't know who's watching you, when they're watching you. The one thing we do know is, regardless, someone's paying attention to the work you're doing and seeing what you're putting out there. So, what's some of that work that you're putting out right now there, John? Kind of sell yourself here. Give us a little bit of plug for John Daigle.
Best ball tiers at NBCSportsEdge.com. And like I said, I'm always updating them. The biggest thing is our team previews are running right now. So for anyone like watching the show or just getting back into the season, because training camp starts next week, they're right there. You can catch up just by reading the team previews, separate them out for a few days if you need to, no big deal, but they're all available. And it's myself, Pat Crane, Pat Daugherty, Denny Carter, Kyle Dvorak, Nick Mincio. We are all just writing them on the site. They're available there. And also our online draft guide. We worked all offseason on it. And the best part about the online draft guide is that we're still updating it. Any changes, we've made breaking changes. We're just updating them weekly and daily. So you can go to the site, NBC Sports Edge, use the code Daigle10. You'll get 10% off, and everything updates for you right there for fantasy football season. So that's what's going on right now.
That sounds like fantastic. That's something I'm still trying to get used to, the NBC Edge. I'm still kind of in that roto world. It's taking a bit of an adjustment on me.
We all are.
I can imagine. Yeah, it's. I see the roto world handle's been taken by someone else now on Twitter, so it's going to cost money if you ever decide to switch back to it. So we'll see where that all ends up.
I think they got it back. I think the company got it back. But yes, it's not switching back. It is NBCSportsEdge.com. You can use rotoworld.com and it'll at least divert you to the site. But yes, moving forward, it is NBC Sports Edge, because we are all one. We are all, it gets us under the betting handle. That's why it's Bet the Edge, which is a terrific weekly show with Sarah Perlman and Drew Dinsick. Drew Dinsick, a very good friend, who's like one of the sharpest handicappers in the entire world. Like he's so good at what he does. And also like, because most people, like most stats guys, they have their models and everything, but they're like egotistical and they come across too strong. But like Drew Dinsick is also like the coolest dude ever and also very sharp. So yeah, it's a great show. I go on it 2 or 3 times a week, most times.
That's great. So you can also catch John Daigle over there as well if you're looking for a little bit of a betting edge to go with it all. Major, yes, what are you up to here? What do you got coming?
Speaking of promo codes, man, we got the Fantasy Points promo code 21.
There you go. Promote your stuff. Yeah, what am I doing? Promote your stuff.
Off, you know what I mean? We were all talking about promos. Let's get that Viper Points. Let's get it in there.
Yeah, I'm horrible at self-promotion. That's just not my type of thing. I can't do it. That's why I got Major kind of watching that little screen there under there to kind of.
I was like, reading it.
That's not self. That's company. Company's different than self. Like self-promotion's hard. I understand. It's like you have to swallow a pill and then just be like, okay, I guess I have to tout my own horn even though I don't want to. But company promotion is different. Read that shit.
Check out Fantasy Points Media Group at Fantasy Points Live on Twitter. And use our promo code 21 Vipers 10 for 10% off your Fantasy Points subscription.
Nice.
You can see we haven't practiced this at all, right?
No. We got to practice.
21 Vipers 10 at the same time. Come on. It's all good.
So we got some stuff coming on. Major, he's got some he's going to start his own little solo project here right away. We're still working on the title. We've had a couple of ideas. One kind of got turned down, but we got it. We got an official title coming on the show right now.
Is going to be called The Way to Major Podcast sports show. Ridiculous name.
It's a long name.
I like it. I wanted it to be super long because I seen it on a shirt like all the way like down to the like stomach.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I see the wheels turning a little bit, John. What's going on? What's going on in your head?
The way to make. I'm just trying to figure out the name.
Way too major.
The way too major. Okay.
Podcast. Sports show.
What is the symbolism for way to major? What does that mean?
Way too major. Like growing up in my hood, my nickname was Way Too because like
got it. That's all I need to know. Yeah.
Yeah, I play football and stuff, so it was like way too major, bigger than all that.
Do the weekly listeners of this podcast, this one right here that we're on, not way to major, that doesn't exist yet. Do they know that your nickname childhood was way too?
No,
that's another exclusive draw.
You're gonna get to learn a little bit.
Okay. I'm gonna say because like they don't know either.
You
so they're trying to figure out why it's way too major.
Fantasy football, it's all there. You know what I mean?
I support it. I just want to make sure like definitely make sure they know there's a reason why it's called way to major. I was trying to think, was that a sports analogy or something? Like what sport is called way to major or something like that?
It's just way too major. It's bigger than. It's way too major.
I believe in your products. If you have passion for it, that sells everyone else you have passion for it. So it's fine.
Sounds good.
So we've got the exclusive drop, Way to Major podcast coming out soon enough. Tera just kind of wrapped up sports podcast. We got Tera just finished up her 30 players in 30 days. Little quick clips. You go check that on the YouTube channel. And trust me when I say this, there's bigger things coming for Tera. She's got some great stuff in the works here right now. And if you head over to the YouTube, I made my first solo venture, dropping a little bit of a AFC East training camp battle preview there. 17 minutes of me talking into a camera and getting dry mouth along the way. So you can check that out and see how that works out for everybody. And with that, for Tera, for Major, for myself, and for Johnny Dollars, if he can't get Stone Cold's music, maybe he needs to go see John Mellencamp and make it hurt so good.
I hope we helped out people, by the way. Like, I don't feel like we talked a lot about football. I think we just talked about life and other things.
That's what this show's about.
Okay, good. Okay, we did it right there.
Yeah,
okay,
we did it. You did a great job. Great interview.
Okay. I'm just glad. I just want to help out people in some way.
Yes.
We got to go. Like we said, with this, the whole point of the show is there's a lot of football talk. We're about to talk a lot more about football here once training camp gets in. This is kind of the time to kind of relax, have a little fun.
Oh, yeah. Y'all know what you are doing. That's it. Y'all know what you are doing.
That's it. We got it. We're good to go. And with that, this is the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast. We're gone.